So one of the most common questions we always hear from clients is, are we going to need to do discounting as we're scaling out our ad campaigns? And whilst there's no denying that discounting is inevitably going to help you sell more products, it's not always necessarily the right option to take. There's a few things that you need to consider here. One is that discounting, and especially discounting too often, can actually end up having a negative effect on the overall brand image because people see you as a discount brand. So this is really going to tie into the overall brand that you're trying to create and really thinking about, is that something you want to be perceived as? The other thing you need to bear in mind, even with more intermittent or less frequent discounts, is that what can end up happening is you train your buyers to wait for discounts. So we see this a lot where brands have been offering discounts on a quarterly basis. And what ends up happening when you look at the data, people stop buying between the discount periods, and then all the sales come in over those discount or promotional periods, which can make it very, very difficult from a cash flow perspective, especially when you need to try and fund product or any kind of growth scenario where you're then looking to invest in marketing ahead of your promotions. Now, if you've ever done any kind of promotions in the business, you've no doubt felt the kind of the rush and the growth that can come from when you have one of these promotions running. So it is tempting to start getting back into that and to start offering promotions when sales might be down. However, there are some other potential alternatives to discounting that you can actually explore. One of the things here is just reframing the discount into some form of offer. So for example, a brand like Naked Wines are very, very good at this. And when they do discounts, they actually position it more as they're giving you a £50 voucher towards your purchase. So just by taking out the word of discounting, it has the effect of not cheapening the brand. And you actually feel like you're getting something tangible. When somebody says to you they're going to give you a £50 voucher toward a purchase, even just that alone, from a psychological standpoint, it's a very effective way at getting people to feel like they've been gifted something, which they then naturally want to use toward that purchase. Another thing you can do here is to offer bundles or free gifts with whatever you're selling. So this can be a really effective way, again, making people feel like they're still getting a good deal. If you can find some things that you can throw in, some complementary products or services that you can offer to make people still feel like they're getting a great deal on what they're buying. So one of the first things we'll generally want to explore if sales are down or if your conversion rate isn't quite where you want it to be is there ways that we can just work on increasing the perceived value of what we're offering so that we don't have to rely on discounting? Very often this is going to come down to how you're positioning the business, how you're positioning your products, and the kind of marketing assets you've got in place. Whilst it is very tempting to want to offer a discount to try to improve your conversion rates, what you'll find happens is you just end up eating into your margins, which really isn't ideal. So a better way of doing this is to invest that money that you would otherwise be putting toward the discount and eating into your margins, and use that to go toward actually investing in better marketing, whether that be marketing assets, so videos, user-generated content, image assets, or anything you can do to just enhance the value proposition of what you're actually offering. And another final tip here, just to mention, when you are offering discounts, is you want to try to make it unpredictable. And this is for exactly the reason that I mentioned earlier about getting into a situation where you're training your buyers to wait for discounts. If you start having monthly or even quarterly discounts, people know to wait for certain time periods until a discount's going to be offered. So by making your discounts more random, more ad hoc, and more intermittent, it stops people from waiting because they don't know when the next discount is going to be coming. There are then naturally other things you can do within the business, whether that be offering drops or limited availability products, maybe adding in some scarcity into what you're offering, whether it be a physical product or a service, to enhance and increase the urgency people have toward wanting to make a purchase.